Okay, hi everybody. I'm Hal Weeks, and this is Stalking the Wild Autoharp, and I'm excited about what I'm going to be offering you here today. We're going to be comparing side by side the sound of different kinds of pickups on Autoharps and different kinds of mics on Autoharps, and what people frequently will use when they are amplifying their Autoharp in a live situation. And I need to explain a couple of things about this video, okay? The sound levels are going to be going up and down. 2, 1, 2, check. 1, 2. Okay, the sound levels are going to be going up and down because of I'm going to be moving mics in closer and further away and turning up the gain on different mics so that you can hear them. And that's just going to be part and parcel of this. If you really want to get the most out of this, you're going to need to listen on either headphones, earbuds, or good speakers. Little bitty laptop speakers or phone speakers are not going to inform you about the differences in sound that I really want you to get savvy to here. So I need to explain also that there are a number of things that I can't cover in this video. I cannot get into recording, okay, studio work, because then there's a lot more options about mics and placement of mics and what you can and can't do with pickups, blah, blah, blah. That's for an audio engineer, okay? My background is doing it live, so we're going to stick to that, all right? I also can't give a lot more detail about different kinds of mics and transducers and their placements and everything, how to install them. It's just, you know, I could do a whole video on each different kind, and maybe someday I will, but we're going to try to keep it narrow to just comparing the sounds, okay? I can't get into amplification, PA systems, guitar amps, you know, different things that you can use that, or equalization, or the rooms. Okay, can't get into that either, all right? And I also can't get into what I call sound guy etiquette, okay, which is how to diplomatically work with a sound person who is doing your sound for you, or how to work and do your own sound by yourself, which is tricky. Let me tell you about my background. I performed in schools, libraries, fairs, festivals, YMCAs, rec centers, senior centers for a decade. And sometimes I did 14 or 15 shows in a month. And I would always go in and never know what to expect from the room, from the size of the audience, from the other noises that were going on. And I had to work with everything. And so I did a lot of different kinds of setups over the years, and a lot of variation in those setups. And so I learned quite a bit about these different kinds of systems that people use. So the first thing I want to ask you, and that you need to ask yourself, what standard are you trying to emulate? When we play the Autoharp, we sit normally with it beside us, right up here by our ear, and we don't know what we sound like through the amp, through the PA system, because this is right by our ear. But as we play, we stick our ear on it, and we hear all that wonderful warm bass coming through. And we know that that is not traveling through the air. And so a lot of people want to get that bass sound into their harp playing so that the audience can hear it, okay? So they want to add something that adds bass to their sound. Good. That's one standard that people try to emulate. Another standard that people try to emulate is, well, yeah, but that's not really the natural sound of the harp that people hear when they're sitting just a few feet in front of it, and they want to get closer to that sound. Okay, there's another way to go about getting that. So different mics for different situations, or different combinations, is what you're really going to learn, is that there's combinations of things that you can do to get closer to one kind of sound or another. All right? And another thing you have to ask yourself is, are you singing as well? If you're singing, you're going to have one of these, but it's going to be a lot closer. It's going to be down here. And it's going to be picking up the sound of the harp and your voice. And really, that's all you need. You can move closer to the harp for your melody parts, and then closer to your voice for the singing parts, and really you'll get a blur or a blend of both things. Okay, that's another kind of thing, and it's very simple to do that, but that's just another kind of sound that people try to emulate, and that's a good way of getting it. Okay, now before I get into these different sounds, I want to show you what I'm doing over here on my right, because you're going to see me doing a lot of work over there, okay? And I want to share that with you before going on. So I'm going to move my camera here. This is my mixing board, and as you can see, I got a lot of different things plugged into it, okay? Each one of these is a different microphone or pickup that we're going to listen to today, all right? And each of these turns that microphone up or down. Like right now, this one is turned up, and that's this microphone that's over my head right now and messing up the picture of my lovely face because it's down there, you know, it's sticking down from the top. And in a few minutes, I'm going to move this in a lot closer to the harp so that you can hear the proximity effect to the harp. And that's necessary for using this kind of microphone to get the best kind of sound out of it. That's one reason that the sound is going to go up and down as I mess around with these different mics, just so you know, okay? So let's talk about a bar magnet first. When I play through a pickup that's in the harp, built in, you are not going to be able to hear my voice because I'm going to have to turn that microphone down so that you hear this pure sound of the pickup. Just so you know. This harp, I have installed two different pickups. One's on this side, and one's on that side. And I typically would not do that myself, but I've done this for you, basically, and for the purpose of this video. But first of all, I'm going to turn down the sound. And I should have put in my earphones a long time ago, because it really tells me what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to turn this down, and I'm going to let you hear the bar magnet pickup all by itself. Now, the thing about a bar magnet pickup is it's not a very natural sound. It's more like an electric guitar, because an electric guitar uses a magnet. This is a bar magnet that runs under all the strings. Okay, I can't really show it to you because it's underneath the chord bars. But it's great for if you want to use effects pedals like a chorus or a flanger or something. And it's hard to get it to feed back through the speakers. So a lot of people like them, but it's not a very natural sound. But you can mix it with another sound in order to get that warm bass that you get from a bar magnet pickup. All right, we're going to move on to the transducer. The thing about transducers is that well, let me finish up with the bar magnet. I need to tell you a couple things about a bar magnet pickup. A bar magnet pickup, you can get them in self-installation kits, Oscar Schmidt bar magnet pickups. You can get those from Pete Daigle. And I'll put links in the notes to this. You can get them from Elderly Instruments. And I think that they run about $100. They install, you have to take off your cord bars and take off the cord bar holders, and they slide under the holders, and then you screw the holders back down on top of them, and that's what holds it on. You can also get nicer ones that run a little bit hotter and more pickup signal. They're manufactured by Greg Schreiber. I will put his name and contact information in the notes. You can get them from Pete Daigle too. Those are made by Greg Schreiber. But those have to be installed through the body of the instrument. This harp, for example, has a built-in plug, and it used to have a pickup attached to it. I disconnected that. Okay, so this is dead right now. But you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to drill in through the side and through the top. And if you are not very savvy with woodworking and how your Autoharp is constructed, you don't want to get into all of that. You want to have it professionally installed, just so's you knows. Okay? All right, transducer pickup. Transducer pickup is actually a microphone. A microphone has a vibrating membrane inside of it, like a drum head or your eardrum. Okay? And it magnetically changes that into analog signal that goes to your recorder or goes to your board. A transducer, it doesn't have the vibrating diaphragm. It uses the vibrating surface of your harp as the diaphragm, okay? So you stick it onto your harp on the soundboard somewhere, or sometimes they're installed internally. You can put them on the back, but that makes them rub up against your shirt, and you hear all of that. Anything that taps the harp, anything that bumps the harp or scrapes the harp is going to be heard by the transducer pickup because it's picking up directly the contact sound. Sometimes they're called contact microphones. It picks up the sound directly from the harp. But unlike the bar magnet pickup, they have a real sparkly, natural, almost microphone-like sound. I'm going to let you hear that now. Now, the thing about a transducer is you've got to have what's called a preamp. It's a box that goes along the, you plug your pickup into it, and then you plug it into your board. And those run anywhere from $100 to $500. Okay? And the preamp, I'll show you what this sounds like without the preamp. I'll turn that off. Which isn't bad. This pickup runs pretty hot, which means it has a lot of signal, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I turn on the preamp, and I have a lot more choices for equalizing the sound and changing its tone, because I'm using an equalizer and preamp over here. Oh, you say you want to see it? Okay, I'll show it to you. This is probably the least expensive option available, and that's what I wanted to do because I'm not using pickups these days. See if I can get this to where you can see it. There it is. This is a Behringer graphic equalizer. There's a Boss one too. The Boss one runs about $100. This one is about $30. Okay, and the sound is equivalent, but this has more plastic on it, and the Behringer the Boss pedal is there's more metal in it, so it's more rugged. That's the main difference in the price. And that's the cheapest option. They make wonderful, Fishman, Barkus Berry preamps that get into the $250, $300 range that can do all this wonderful stuff to your sound through a transducer pickup. You don't want to use that kind of preamp with a bar magnet pickup, but through a transducer pickup, they can do wonderful things for your sound that way. But you need to know that about a transducer. You don't really want to run it without anything. you get it like this. It's got a plug on one side, and then at the other end of the wire, it's got this thing that's like a little, it's almost like a coin. This one is from K&K Sound. They're very cost effective. These cost about 30 bucks. But I learned the hard way that I was buying the wrong thing. This is called a hotspot. Don't get a hotspot from them. Get the one that's called a big shot. Okay? That's what's currently installed on my harp. And its coin is larger. And so it picks up more of the vibrating surface. This is more for violins and guitars that have a thin soundboard. Thick soundboards, you need to be able to compensate and get more sound coming out, because these have noise. They hum and they hiss. And so you want to turn them down. And when you turn them down, you lose a lot of the volume of the pickup, unless you've got a big shot, and then it's got a lot of signal still. So I got really good sound once I got the big shot from them. Again, only about 30 bucks, but you got to have a preamp unit as well. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about different preamp units and stuff, because quite frankly, I can't afford it. I just use them for the sake of this video, and I might use it some in recording, but I'm not going to invest in really fancy equipment to make that part of my sound optimum, because I like performing just through mics. Okay. And speaking of mics, in order to move this forward, I'm going to go on and talk now about this mic. This is a dynamic mic. It's called a Shure Sm57. Every sound man in the world is going to have at least one of these mics. Okay. And he's going to also have one called a 58. The 58, this is not an SM58, but it's just like it. And it has this ball end. Okay. This is a singing mic, and you'll find them on stands. Shure SM58s are chrome or silver colored, but they have this ball end, and that's a pop screen, so that your P's don't go boom, boom, boom as you're talking to the mic. Okay. And but the sound is equivalent between these two mics. Okay. This one is just better for singing, and this one is better for instruments. That's the only difference. But you have to move them in close. And so these require a mic stand, like I've got here. This one's got a gooseneck. But you got to move them in close, within an inch or two of the harp, to really get the optimum sound from the mic. That's called proximity effect. Okay? And you can hear how I'm talking into it now, but as I move closer, you'll hear that my voice gets a lot, there's more deep bass that comes in. But the problem with proximity effect, get that out of my face, the problem with proximity effect is that it gets in the way of your hands. And so you tend to put the mic up here, and then you're listening to the little short part that's close to the bridge. You need to be down here close. And then the chances are always good that you're going to whack the microphone. And I always feel cramped by mics on stands, so I tend to avoid them. But I'm going to show you what I do. So that's the 57. These are the things that you're going to find on stage when you get up for an open mic. Just use them. Don't get into all the, oh, I need to plug in, I need to use my own mic, blah, blah, blah. Because you don't have time. You've got 2, maybe 3 songs, and you got to get off, and the next person's got to get on. And so everybody just kind of uses the same mics. And that's kind of the way you want to do that. This is what you're typically going to find on a stage, because, they don't feed back very easily. And it's easy and sort of a universal sound. But these sound darker. They're not as sparkly as what's called a condenser mic. Okay? And I'm going to show you my condenser. And this is my favorite microphone for the Autoharp. It's on a tiny little gooseneck. This is called a silver bullet. It's made by K&K, the same people that make the hotspot and the big shot transducer pickup. Okay, and I will have their link in the notes also. This is a flute mic, and because I play Native American flutes, I use this on them. But then I discovered how wonderful it is on the Autoharp, and it velcros on. You'll see that I have a patch of Velcro right here. It's actually super Velcro. Comes with the unit, okay? And I put it on right here like this. And that makes it easy to change from harp to harp, all right? Now, you're still hearing this mic, so I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to turn this other one up. Okay, now this will pick up my voice as well as the harp. And the thing that I like about it is that I can move around and I can stay just as balanced. I can walk over there, I can walk over there, and that helps me work the crowd. I can't walk in front of the speakers, but that's pretty convenient. And for working online, I teach lessons online, I make videos, I can change the angle so that you can see what I'm doing, and it all works out pretty well, unless I look away and then I lose the balance. But pretty much if I stay facing forward, or if I look down, look up, the balance of my voice. But I think that the harp sounds really nicely balanced, and I can adjust the balance between my voice and the harp by changing the angle of the microphone to pick up more of my voice or a little less of my voice and more of the harp, depending on what I want to do. Now, condenser mics sound more sparkly, they're more sensitive, and they sound more natural for instruments that have complex sounds like harps, pianos, things like this. But because they're more sensitive, they're also more sensitive to feedback, and you can sometimes get into problems with them if the PA is loud, or if it's you're in a small room and the sound is echoing back really fast and loud. And that's why people tend to use these more on stages, because they feed back less easily. Just so you know, you're getting into like they can be a little bit persnickety. But in the right situation, this is just a great little mic, and I'm not tied down by a lot of wires or anything like that. This has a little box that takes a battery, or it will take phantom power from the mixing board. Condenser mics require power to run. Battery power, or what's called phantom power, which is power coming from the mixing board. And that's another thing about mics. So if you have a mic and it's got a battery in it, it's a condenser mic, okay? And they work well on stages too, but they're just a little bit more sensitive. Okay, so we've covered the condenser mic, we've covered the dynamic mic, we've covered the transducer pickup, we've covered the bar magnet pickup. There's one other kind that I want to show you here, and it's called a lavalier mic, and it's also a condenser mic. So I'm going to turn this other mic back on so that I can turn this one off and take it off my harp for now and set it aside, because I'm going to put on this lavalier mic. The lavalier mic is what Brian Bowers used for years. Now he doesn't use one anymore. He just plays into a single mic, I mean, unless he's changed. But this is, you know, what you see on television. They clip it on here, and it picks up the sound from the back of the harp. You're going to lean your harp up against it, except it's not going to touch the actual back. It goes in the space between your shoulder All right, where to go? Aha. I'd do another take, but I'd have to start back 25 minutes ago. So it goes on your shirt right there, and it will pick up the sound off the back of the harp. So let's listen to that now. As you can see, it's got a lot of bass. That's because of the proximity effect. The harp is very close to it. If your lavalier mic is an omnidirectional, it will not have proximity effect. But also because of the proximity effect, you're going to get this kind of effect. As you move the harp around, it's going to move in and out. Again, an omnidirectional one will not do that. That's why so many lavalier mics are omnidirectional. And that's not really a problem in recording situations. In stage situations where there's speakers, omnidirectional mics pick up sound from all over the place, and so they feed back more easily. And so you got to compromise. But back here, they're kind of sheltered. So I don't know, an Omni might work better for you, but that's just part of using it. That's why you pin it up sort of high up so that you don't, it fell off, so that you don't bump the harp up against it and get booms and thumps, and it kind of stays in that little place behind your harp, between the back of the harp and your shoulder, and it usually won't pick up your voice too much back there either. So you have to have yeah, this one's turned off right now, but if you're going to sing, you need to turn that one back on so that you have something to sing and play through. And so now this combination, you're hearing my voice here and my harp coming through that other mic. So that's a lavalier mic. Now, real quick, I want to talk to you about combining sounds. You can combine the sound of this mic with the bar magnet, which is real bassy, as you will recall, and get a really fine this is a combination sound of the microphone, which is getting the sparkle, and the bar magnet. And here I'll take the bar magnet out again. So there's the microphone. And I add back in the bar magnet. So you're using basically one mic for the sparkle and another mic for the bass. You're using the pickup for the bass and the mic for the sparkle, and all kinds of different combinations. You can add the transducer in with the bar magnet. And just depending on how you blend them. And you can even pan them to other sides so that you get more space in the different speakers. So by combining different techniques and different mics and pickups, you can get all kinds of different sounds. Get this out of my face because I know you like to look at my face. Okay, so we covered the different sounds of all of those different ways of typically amplifying an Autoharp on the stage. And I want to thank you, because this has gone on now for 30 minutes, and I realize that's a long time. I will have the contact information for K&K Sound, for Greg Schreiber, and for Daigle Harps, for the pickups, and the Silver Bullet mic, which is the little gooseneck mic that I like to use by itself. And please subscribe to my video series, Stalking the Wild Autoharp, because I go into Autoharp tutorials and lessons and everything like that. If you want private lessons, I can meet with you for an hour online through Skype. It works really well, and I'm getting pretty good at teaching that way, and I really enjoy it. If you have questions about any of these mics, please just type them in down below, or you can find me on Facebook, or go through my website, halweeks.com. There's a contact page. And speaking of halweeks.com, that's where you can go to get my album, which is called Autoharp Revealed in Cloud. And if it wasn't over there on the shelf, I would grab one and show it to you, but I'm kind of boxed in here by all my my rig. So again, thank you for tuning in. I'm Hal Weeks, and keep harping, and we'll see you next time on Stalking the Wild Autoharp. Bye-bye.